it in, huh?
Pretty much. Pretty much. All right. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You are now tuned into the Black Ramen Podcast. I am Chatty Patty, aka Getting Over a Cold, aka Madam Straw Hat, aka the Celestial Freaking Dragon, and I have with me today.
What's up, people? This is Derby, aka Sexual Chocolate. It is the only aka I refuse to get more.
That's crazy.
As you just heard, we have a guest with us today. How about you introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. It's GIGI Murakami, aka your local black girl mangaka, aka, I'm just here. I'm just chilling, aka also getting over a cold, aka it's hard out here.
Yeah, it is hot out here.
It's hard out here.
First of all, that was very dry because second of all, like, this is D Kiyuki Panda. This is my favorite freaking artist. And you can just sit there and go, just go introduce yourself. Wow, this is a moment.
You see how they try to play me, bro? You see how they try to play me?
I ain't trying.
Sidebar. I'm no longer going by Koyuki Panda anymore.
Really?
Yeah. GIGI Murakami is my name. I'm going by that now. I should have gave you this is the second time this is happening. I should have gave you a heads up. My bad, bro. My bad.
Oh my
bad.
Fire.
Don't make that face. Don't make that face.
Fire assistant, because they had ample amount of time to let us know. Excuse me, Kiyuki Panda, we don't go back.
And this is why you let people introduce themselves.
I'm dead.
I win by accident. Yes.
No, but that's if you guys don't know, Gigi was on our show. We did an interview with her. Like, was it last year?
Last year. Mm-hmm.
It was last year. We did an interview with her. I just fell in love with everything. I actually met Gigi at art. It was from Sonic Boombox. Shout out to Sonic Boombox. What was it? It was like
an anime night market.
That's what it was. It was an anime night market, right? Mm-hmm. And I saw this table with this beautiful woman who was just selling.
Set the scene, Patty. Set the scene.
And I was a little.
Music was bumping.
Everything was popping. And then what happened? We met eyes. And I saw her table and I saw the merch. I was like, oh, what's your name?
Oh my. Your art gives me the vapors.
Perfect song came on. Reunited.
It feels so good.
It feels like the first.
You guys,
I'm dead.
It was amazing. She had pins, keychains, shirts, posters, and it was just it was all based in like horror. But there's a specific name for it. I always forget the name of like the genre of horror that is 70s pulp
grindhouse kind of aesthetic. Yeah.
Yes. And I love it. If you guys don't know, right now I'm in front of my computer. Her poster's like right up here. Like I just literally was like, nah, I gotta get this poster. I put it right up here. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So after that, I was so intrigued because I don't really see a lot of Black artists doing the grindhouse horror genre. And then she told me she was a mangaka and it was a rap. I said, okay, cool. I gotta get all your ads. So that first interview that we did was like a 2-part interview and it was amazing. I learned so much because she's a dope artist. So we talked about utensils. We talked about
I almost cried on that interview. getting into the art teacher stuff. I almost cried. That shit opened up a moment where I was like, oh, how I didn't fully go over that in my mind. Hold up. Still a tender spot.
It's therapeutic. I think it was amazing that we were able to talk about stuff like that and open doors for other artists to let them know, like, hey, this is the trials that you might face. Because some of these spaces are not really you don't see a lot of people that look like you in those spaces. So, and then art can be subjective, I think. Like, especially when it comes to your peers and your professors, when they have their version of what they consider art. But I feel like whatever you create is art, depending on the artist and what they're trying to project, right? So for you to face all those things from your professors, and I love the shutdown. We was like, "No, I'm still talking, sir." When you when you went and told the professor what's up, I like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you never got a chance, this is a perfect time to hit pause. Go back to season 2 of Black Ramen Podcast and look up the episode that we had with Gigi, formerly known as Yuki Panda.
Oh my God.
The artist formerly known as.
Yuki Panda. But it was great. But before we get into, because the reason we have her on the show right now is because she has released a phenomenal manga that I'm super excited to talk about. It is such a dope story. The art is amazing. But before we get into that, right, I just want to say that I'm very impressed that you can actually write a manga and create this without having a bit of black trauma porn, which I'm super excited about. So I just wanted to know, was that ever in your mind that you wanted to put that in? Okay, hold on. Who got the lawnmower? Because
you know what I'm saying, like, bro. It's Saturday.
It's obviously by me.
I'm about to say I ain't got no lawns out here now.
All right, what I'll do is I'll just mute myself, right?
There it is. There we go. And it just come back when they done doing the left side of the house. That have you ever considered putting that type of story in any of your mangas, the black trauma porn? Because I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to black horror, that's like the main narrative of most of horror stories.
Right. So it's interesting that you say that, because I never considered that fully. I find that the black like trauma porn is worst when there's no meaning behind it. And something for me doing horror, and I've spoken about this publicly before, is I'm always cognizant of trying to do stuff with a purpose and not just doing stuff to like make fun of, or for it to come off as making fun of, or like trying to trigger. And I don't want to shy away from violence, and Resenter is not going to shy away from violence, but there is going to be a larger question involved. It is not going to be meant just for voyeurism. There's stuff happening. To that point, though, I don't intend on making it gratuitous. I'm not trying to trigger people. I think that because of the nature of the story and the themes and the questions that it asks, some people might be uncomfortable with it and asking those questions and having to come to terms with what has or will happen to some of these characters. But there's also things that do happen in real life that kind of connects in that same vein, but it isn't gratuitous.
Okay.
So there is violence. This is a story that is predicated on violence and revenge. So there's definitely violence, but it's not voyeuristic and it's not gratuitous. At least not gratuitous on a lot of black bodies. Let's just say that. Okay. But there is violence. It does happen. But it is asking a question. It is with a purpose. It isn't what certain Get Out clones, I will say. It's not in that vein of black trauma porn. Okay. It's not that, yeah.
That's good. I don't mind the violence. I don't mind the horror, but when it's just focused on like that show, like that's on Amazon, like Them. when it's basically something like that. That's what.
This is the second time I'm having a conversation in the past like week with somebody talking about them. I haven't actually seen that show, but I have heard.
You don't need to.
I kind of want to, just to know like what to avoid.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like
purposes, I got you.
Educational purposes, studying purposes, and it's like okay, this is the second time I'm hearing somebody say that. I haven't seen it. It must be pretty bad, I guess. But I was interested in them because of like the house thing. I do love the idea of like, isn't that it? Like a haunted house kind of situation.
Yeah, but cinematically, it looks like it's art. I'm not gonna take away from that. It's just story wise, it's just so problematic and so like trauma. And it's like you forget about everything else because it's just so much. And that's why I wanted to ask you before we got into your manga. Do you feel like when it comes to Black horror, can we have a space to actually have a great horror story without going through the same narrative of just Black trauma porn? Because I feel like what's that show? Lovecraft Country did a great job. I thought that was a great series. Should have had a season 2. That had a great representation of how you could do Black horror right, especially for the Black female lead and a Black female writer. Shout out to her. Yeah, I did her wrong, HBO. Yeah, I really did her wrong. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of people that feel like when it comes to Black horror, that has to be the nucleus of the story. Especially, I feel it's mostly whites. Mostly white writers, white directors, they feel like the scariest thing a Black person can face is white people. They're not lying.
The hubris of it, though, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's true.
You don't gotta admit it out loud, you know? Like,
it just looks bad when you're the fear and you're writing yourself as like the big baddie. Like that does, it just, I don't know. There's a level of hubris there where it's like, you know, I mean, it's not wrong, but the execution is not always right.
No, you made sense. Like if you're gonna go that route, make sure there's a purpose behind it. Like don't just have to be there just for the sake of it being there. You know?
And that's always my thing. I hate when a trend takes off and then like people are just doing stuff without understanding why it was done in the first place. That means to me that like there's not enough studying happening. There's just a lot of imitation.
Oh yeah.
And like, and imitation is fine because that is how you study, that is how you learn. But like if we're talking about like movies, like these are big companies, they have budgets. Like if y'all don't know why something was done, go to the source. Don't try to make up an idea. Like go to the source. And yeah, it bothers me. It does bother me. I don't love it. I don't love it.
Especially if race is a big factor on it. And if you're not part of that race or that ethnicity, I feel like research is a big deal. You know, I don't think imitation it should serve a purpose when you're writing a story for a community that you're not part of, that you're just like you're just making money off of. Research is very, very crucial when it comes to stuff like this. And just to move forward, right? I just wanted to get your opinion on that. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said before, the reason Miss Gigi is on here is because she just released. Is it out yet? It's not out yet. Is it out?
It'll probably be out by this time. By the time this is out, but it's gonna be out tomorrow.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I feel greatly blessed because I was able to read the first chapter. Me and Darius was able to read the first chapter of this manga. When I tell you I tore this up, the moment she sent it to me, I tore it up. And then she tried to be slick, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to make sure that the content that we give you, especially from our artists, right in your face, raw, unapologetically right there. She tried to get the heads up on me. So what you did you read it? So what you think? You ain't even confirm if you read the
this shit or not?
You'll find out right now.
You will find
You
out.
ain't even confirm.
No,
Oh
I'm
my
not confirming
gosh.
anything. We want to have it on the show right there in your face, ladies and gentlemen. You see how I care about y'all? You see how I care about y'all? But Gigi was like, nah, I want to know. I want to have a talk. I want to have a talk. But
I just wanted a confirmation. Did you read? Did you not read? Did you
well, now
skim?
you got the confirmation. Yes, I read it. I love it. I love it. But please let our listeners know about this beautiful manga that you are about to release that is already out, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have all the formats. We'll have the links on the bottom of the screen where you can view and read and dash some coins for this manga. So support so we can get more of this, because I'm here waiting for chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Who isn't?
You know what I'm saying? So Gigi, please let us know the title of this great, amazing manga, and you can go off and let the listeners know a little backstory and what possessed you to create and come up with this main protagonist, which I love because she looked like her scalp is well moisturized. I'm not even gonna hold you.
I'm dead. Oh
She
my god.
She
Patty.
I was like, can I pull this off? Can I pull this off?
Oh my gosh.
This is how you look after you're dead. I'm like, yo. Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
Right, man, moisturized and oiled. Oh my god.
Great. But go ahead.
So my manga is called Resenter. It is a supernatural horror thriller. And the main protagonist, her name is Jackie. She's a young woman who is recently murdered at her job. And she wakes up in this place called the Death Zone. The Death Realm, I believe. She's basically given an opportunity to get revenge on her murderer from beyond the grave. And the story is really about revenge and resentment. It asks questions on revenge and vengeance, and whether or not it's necessary, whether or not all people deserve vengeance for the wrongs that they have against them. And the crux of the story actually came from my own feelings, my own personal feelings of resentment and kind of revenge. Obviously not in murder or
I would hope not.
not anything, nothing like that.
We can talk when the lights are off, when the cameras aren't rolling. But okay, go ahead.
Do not
nothing. Right, nothing. No, no actual murder or violence, but just revenge of not talking to people anymore and not interacting or putting myself out there or being vulnerable with certain people. And this is Gigi stuff. This is like my own personal stuff. So the feelings that are coming from this manga are real people feelings. It is coming from a real place and stemming from not real situations, but my situations, my real stuff. It is being drawn from that. And while as I am now and dealing with those feelings, and I've decided I've handled those feelings, I decided I wanted to explore that a bit more in Resenter, but in a more cathartic way, in a more aggressive way. And I really wanted to analyze revenge and really asking the questions like, does everybody deserve revenge?
Yes.
In my case, I
would like to co-sign that statement that Patty just made. Yeah.
Yes.
In my situation, I definitely feel like I was deserving of vengeance or being avenged. But I'm not so sure if that's true for everybody and everybody else's situation. And then also, what does it look like to not seek vengeance, to forgive somebody who is like actually really, really wronged you? And how wrong can you wrong somebody, like, other than, like, you know what I'm saying, like a murder? Like that is, you are removing something tangible, somebody precious, somebody who had a whole history, who is connected to you in whatever way that is. And you are taking that person away. And like, what does forgiveness in that look like? And what does vengeance and all of that look like? So
that's a good way of looking at revenge. As my brother would say, my brother always told me that, because he's a lot more forgiving, but then again, he's more of the asshole than anything. So, yeah, we fight all the time, right? And he just wants me to get over it every time. But here's the thing. I feel like revenge, not revenge, but forgiveness. When you think about forgiveness, you don't forgive the person for that person. You forgive for you, so you can let stuff go. And you can move on and heal. Because remember, whenever somebody does something to you, it is damaging, especially if they do something like as far as like hurting you physically, emotionally, spiritually. There's always a healing behind that. My healing is death. May you die.
One choice Patty would make in this.
Right. We might as well just get her Ripper badge right now, because like,
no, I was all Jackie all day. But see, this is the thing though. Like me, when it comes to my fantasy, anything that has to do with revenge, I am on board, because I like when people get their just desserts. Like, don't
get that, yeah.
You know what I hate about stories when, you know, the protagonist is done wrong and they go through all this, the healing process and trying to get stronger, and then when they finally meet their enemy, it's like, you know what, you're not even worth it. Fuck yes, it is. What you mean? I did not suffer all these chapters. You grow for you to be like, nah, I'm better than this. No, we not.
Yeah, it was one of the problems in Avatar. I remember when they let Ozai live. I was like, wait,
oh
what?
my God.
No, come on. The amount of murder he caused, like, societies are gone. There's still people sitting in jail right now.
Facts.
End him.
Genocide's happening because of this man.
Genocide did it. Your whole people are gone. You are the last airbender. All right, we're not talking about Avatar. Sorry.
No.
But I feel that though.
This is why I love this story so much, because I knew it. Because the moment, okay, ladies and gentlemen, when she's in this realm, when Jackie's in this, what do we call it? I call it the transition realm, because this is where you determine whether you want out of the.
It is. I haven't seen these pages in a minute. I done fixed them up. I'm like, I've been working on these pages for like months. Get out of my face. So hold on, let me just make sure that I got
them last night. So
I love
y'all know more than me at this point, because I'm like,
because I have questions.
I'm invested.
Mainly because I won't spoil this.
I love
it. Get any spoilers?
I know, but still.
The death zone. It is the death zone. I'm bugging.
Okay, it's the death zone. Okay,
the death
zone.
So
there's a part where Jackie's in the death zone, right?
Right.
And at this point, you could tell how badass she is, because now we are introduced with. We could talk about who she's talking to, right?
Of course.
Okay, so Jackie's she's already acknowledged, like, there's someone that's in the death zone with her. She is a Ripper. Now, she confronts Jackie and says, hey, listen, bitch, you dead. So you got three options. Either you get reincarnated. That was one of the options, but we don't know what you're going to get reincarnated to, because we don't know what type of life you lived before this. I don't know you, bitch, but let's hope thank you for you to come back, because you might come back as a Shih Tzu. We don't know.
Yeah. You get back to human eventually, maybe.
Eventually, somewhere down the line. I don't know, girl. Take it up with management.
We're not allowed to talk about management. You said.
I'm not calling HR. HR never pick up the phone. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Straight to voicemail.
That's one straight to voicemail. That's one option. What was the second option? The second option was
so a Ripper's primary function. Their primary function is to get vengeance for recently murdered people.
Her. Yeah.
Yeah. So people who have been recently murdered, when they decide to work with the Ripper and have the Ripper get vengeance for them, those people become clients of the Rippers. And then the murderers become the Ripper's targets.
Right.
So that is their primary function. So that is the other option.
But you're still dead, though.
Yeah, but
you're still dead. There's no coming back.
But now they dead too, so ha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
you get that moral high ground, you know? I ain't do nothing.
And the third option, you could become a Ripper yourself. But the downside is you can't, I repeat, you cannot get revenge on your killer. That is against company policy.
Yep.
As soon as
it's in the contract.
You ain't getting no union rep. You don't got no union delegate. You cannot talk to HR at all.
Nah.
They will
finna get fired on the spot.
Right there on the spot. But the thing is, she does not tell her, the Ripper does not tell Jackie exactly how bad it is. She just said, you probably don't want to do that.
Like, yo, they said don't. I don't know what really happens, but they said don't do it.
But this is what I love, right? While she's explaining to Jackie that, hey, listen, this is what's going to happen, but you look like you don't give a fuck. Like, you just look like you just don't care. She said, no, I have none to give. So option 3, please. And she decides to become a Ripper. But ladies and gentlemen, let me be perfectly clear. When I started reading this, I thought she was a Reaper. She's not a Reaper. She is a Ripper.
Right. Like you don't rip your pants, rip, R.I.P., Ripper.
Yes. So how'd you come up with Rippers instead of, like, why didn't you just go with Reapers? Like, was there a decision for that? Or
so Reaper to me sounds, even though I describe Rippers as like the Grim Reapers of this world, Reaper does sound to me more passive. They're essentially like higher, in my mind, right? This is just made up stuff. In my mind, is higher level spirits that like shepherd along other spirits into the afterlife. There's not really an action element to it. It's just passive. So Reaper didn't really. It sounded exactly. It sounded like so. Also with the word Ripper, it did sound a bit more active and aggressive and like, and you know, it doesn't sound like a pretty sound. But also, Jackie's design when I first created her. So I created Jackie before I created the story. So the story is really carved around her. And when I created her design, I was just getting into creating stuff from like the stuff that I like. And I think we spoke about that on the last podcast episode where I wasn't really creating from the stuff that I liked. I created from what I thought people would like. So I was doing a lot of fan art, a lot of like, I call it my vanilla phase, where I was doing a lot more cutesy kind of Disney Studio Ghibli kind of stuff. Right. And that was cool. And I love stuff like that, which is why I was making it. But that was not, it's not me. It's not me. I'm an alt girl. I love horror movies. I love nerdy shit. I like grotesque. I like macabre. I love that stuff. So during that time when I was working more on doing more of that and like messing around and doing sketches and just playing around with imagery, I was thinking about actually Jack the Ripper. So the serial murderer Jack the Ripper, I forget when he was around, Victorian like England. Yeah.
He was never caught.
He was never found, never caught. And I always found that to be kind of fascinating. And I was like, damn, what if there was like a female version of that?
Obviously.
And that's where you get, that's right. That's a theory. It's a theory, but he had to have been either a cop or like aristocracy oh gosh, my words can't word
aristocracy.
Yeah. He was somebody. He was an upper class person. He had to have been.
Had to be.
But had to be. But Jackie came from what would like a female Jack the Ripper be like? Even though like Jack the Ripper was out here bodying prostitutes, Jackie's not quite, you know, that's not her goal necessarily. But what would that look like? So that's when I initially created her. But yeah. So Ripper came from that. Ripper came from the idea of like Reaper is too passive. Ripper is more active, and like her original design and conception, not design, but her conception rather came from Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
So,
I love the. Oh, go ahead, Derbs. I'm sorry.
So this is going to enter a little bit into spoiler territory. If you can't answer, just don't.
Okay.
Can you tell me something about like what the Ripper's skills kind of are? Like, do they have powers, or is it just like they're, you know, supernatural beings, so they're a bit stronger, live longer?
I could tell you one power they have. The power of style, because
I mean, yes, like yo, when we first meet the Ripper, and she got that hat all cocked. I was like,
Raya, yeah.
Like, I love how the fashion statement is like it doesn't play. It plays with the gender aesthetic. Like what she has on is not really feminine, but it's not really masculine. But she just makes it sexy in her own way. The first Ripper, the pantsuit with the little tie thing that dangles with the button right here. You know how long I've been trying to get those pants? I can never find pants like that. The vest, this is how I love when people pay attention to detail. The earrings, like Gigi really took the time out to say, you know what? I'm really gonna make sure this vest, these gloves, everything. They even got the creases on the pantsuit. That's how I'm like, oh my God, this is fire. This is so fire. But I thought that was one power they had, because the sense of fashion is just amazing. Like,
sense of fashion can be a superpower.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you can tell us, Gigi? Or no? Power.
Go ahead, Gigi.
They're just like, all right, Patty, I'm gonna need you to ease on out the way from the spoilers.
I want spoilers, and if she can't give them, she can't give them. I'll give them in the future chapters. It's fine.
Okay, so I don't want to say too much, because in the second chapter there is more that goes into that. And the second chapter, not so much in the second, but definitely in the third, it does go more into some more rules about what's happening with the Rippers and like what they're able to do, what they can't do. As far as powers though, I will say there is a bit of perception play happening. I'm not gonna say too much more than that. That is something that you'll be able to see absolutely in the second chapter though. But there is a perception thing happening.
Got it.
Yeah. Not you taking notes.
Yeah, I am taking notes.
I mean,
I got perception play right now, and I'm
perception
right
and
next
manipulation.
to it. I'm like, yo, is it kind of like you know, they just kind of can't see them? I know you're not going to answer, but you know, I'm thinking, you know, trying to figure this out.
We're thinking about that, but we wouldn't have to do that.
And then,
but you know,
right.
Just give us the whole story. That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
You know, get out the way. Give us your notes. Hold up. Where's that book at?
I'll take the storyboards, all of that.
Anything.
Whatever you wrote on that typewriter from like a year ago when you first had the idea. Yeah, I'll take that.
Oh yeah.
I'm dead.
As long as the ink is dry, I'll come pick it up. I'll come pick it up.
Yo, not even if the ink is wet. Yo, I'll get a fan, you know, and just
wait, what
dry
you
it myself. Like a Nintendo cartridge, exactly.
I'm dead. That's so interesting that you asked that though. I actually have a private Discord server with my community there called The Collective. And I want to say around last year and maybe like a half or whatever, when I was working on this, I was talking to them about this story. I did have a good chunk of it down, and I did tell them a little bit about what was going on with it. And that was one of the questions that they asked too. It was like, oh, what's the powers? Is there going to be like certain this and certain that? And I'm like, y'all, this is not a shonen. There are powers. It's different. It's different. This is not a shonen. This is not a shonen. So I'm gonna say that.
I want that when I press a button. Psh, guys, this is not a shonen. I love that. I love that.
So I want y'all to come at this with fresh eyes, because I don't want y'all to come into this thinking that it's gonna be like a supernatural shonen. This is not a shonen. This is not a shonen, because y'all are gonna be disappointed if that's the case. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is not a shonen.
Reading this, there's no way you could be disappointed.
I mean, I would hope not, but like, you know, if the expectation is the power has to be this way because this is how it is in shonen, it's not that. It's
no, I do.
Do not bring Bleach into this. Got it.
Do not bring no Bleach into this at all. No.
What I love about this, you gave us so much in the first chapter, but yet not enough. So no, that's how I feel. I feel like
I mean, that's a good first chapter. That's what I hear.
It's a good first chapter. Gigi gave you enough to be like, oh, that's a lot going on, and then you like, wait, hold up, that's it.
Yeah.
And then you just like, okay,
when I hit the next page button more than once, because I'm like, oh, no, I must have missed it. My bad. Hold on. Let me wipe my finger off. It's not working right. Next. Not fuck.
I said, but it said like 33 something, like 30 something. I know I didn't hit 30 just yet. Like, come on, stop. What I love about Jackie, like when you enter the what's it called? The death zone. When you enter the death zone, there's so many emotions going through Jackie. Because now she comes to the realization that she's dead. She don't know what she is. When the Ripper comes and says, okay, you dead. She was like, what? And then first is like, why? What? My sister. So it's like everything is just like she hits you with all the emotions at once, right? But yet she's still able to be level-headed to make the decision of what she's going to do next, right? And I appreciate that, because I need a minute. I need a minute. I need to
sit down for a while. Hold on, wait.
I just got my new jacket in the mail that I was about to crush the other day, and now I'm like, I can't wear it. I'm dead. Like,
but see, here's the thing. I also have good news. I don't have to pay rent or anything, so I have no more bills. So that's nice.
We don't know if Jackie live in New York. If Jackie live in New York, you know.
Oh, wait, hold on. Is one of the Ripper's superpowers not having to pay bills? Because that's fine. Like, we just get to live here for free.
They got Ripper taxes. I don't know. That might could be a thing. Ripper taxes. They gotta pay.
Vengeance will be set upon you, sir. What?
Right? You got a vengeance quota. Your taxes is not paid. You better get the ripping.
But I love that you get to feel a sense of like you really get to go inside of what Jackie's feeling at this moment when she's at the death zone. Like it's so many, even the background art. All you see is like mostly just souls, just lost souls all over the place. And her main thing is like, what is this? Like she doesn't know where she's at. And then for a split second, for everybody for one person to come in, another bad shorty just to come in to tell you, hey, you're dead. And then to register that. And then after that, you have 3 options. And yet in the back of your mind, you're still thinking about your little sister. I was like, oh my God, that's a lot, yo. We need more people. But I love the pacing of the first chapter. I really do. The pacing is amazing.
Thank you.
Because like I said, it gives you enough. It gives you a lot on the first chapter for you to be like invested and for you to get to know the mindset of what Jackie is thinking right now while she's in the death zone. I think that's very important because it lets you understand the decision that she made and why she made it because of what just transpired, what she just found out, right? So I love that. It gave you enough to be like, okay, that just happened. And then when you scroll, but not that much because she really played us because she really didn't give us enough. But
and you see, introduce new character. Nah, you ain't gonna see him yet.
Nothing. We already signed, and waived the contract. We can't go any further from this from this page.
I already went too far by saying new character. My bad.
See? There it is. If you sue Gigi, he's not a part of Black Ramen. That's a separate lawsuit that we
Except
not.
all the paperwork says I am.
But I love the pacing of the first chapter because it gives you enough to stay invested and also hungry for more. Which I feel that a lot of that's one of the tricky things about being a mangaka, about being a writer, period. Yeah. Because you don't want to put too much, but yet you don't want to not put enough to engage with the audience. So that's what I appreciate with the story. I love it so much. I love the aesthetic. I love the artwork. I love the fact that you paid attention to detail and did the background. I want to know, do you have an assistant? Because there's some artists that mangakas, they have assistants. They don't do the backgrounds. They just do like the characters, and then the assistant will do the backgrounds and the shading and stuff. So I want to know, do you have money for an assistant? Is this an assistant work?
I do not have money for an assistant. I'm gonna be honest, this is all me. I'm barely surviving on just this. So the Patreon is open, please. The Patreon is open. But no, this is all me. This is all me.
Say that. Let people know what the Patreon. What's the Patreon? Come on.
The Patreon, okay, patreon.com/GIGI MURAKAMI. Please help your girl out. I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be 100%. Some tough love on this. If y'all want this stuff, you know, you really do have to support the creators. I made a big effort to go on a hiatus from client work. Y'all, I live in New York City. Rent is up. Like I'm really trusting on my support system in order for me to do this. And I took a hiatus from client work, and I was getting tons of emails, tons of emails. I had to change the way that I set up the structure for how clients can reach out to me, so that this can be more organized. But I had to take a hiatus so that I can focus on this, because ideally, this is what I want to do. I want to just create manga. The way the mangaka in Japan are just creating, they're just dropping their joints. I want to do the same thing. Do I necessarily want to be published with that? Maybe a title or two, but I'm trying to move on up. I'm trying to be up there. And if you don't want stuff that's derivative, and you don't want a remake of this, or you don't want to see, you know, a white male protagonist in something like this, y'all have to support the smaller creators. Yes. Period. Like, y'all just have to do this. So I don't have an assistant. I can't afford an assistant. I just got an intern. She's paid. She's not paid a lot. She's an intern, and I ain't got a lot. So but I just hired an intern, and she's amazing. She doesn't help with any of this though. As far as all the artwork, all the writing, this is all me. She's taken a peek at like the first 6 pages, and that's it. So she don't even know what's going on. Okay. I do have a creative support circle. I have cousins who write. One of my cousins, she's actually a published like author for YA works. And she's been published for a minute. So I had her go over the story with me to make sure that like everything is tight. Pacing wise, it's good. I knew that I wanted to jump into the story. I didn't want to, I didn't want to build up too much of, I guess, the normal world, because the normal world is our world. It's not a departure. There's nothing else happening in Jackie's world that isn't happening here. So I did want to just jump into the story. Because there are also, with the Ripper realm and with the Rippers and the Death Zone and some other characters, there's a lot happening, and there's a lot of information that needs to be given. And I wanted to drop those in interesting ways, but also like, I wanted the pacing to be on point. So that is like, I'm so happy for you to say that the pacing on this is really
good. It was perfect. It was perfect.
Because
was short. That was it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Basically, where the rest of the chapters. It's gonna be a recurring theme here.
That's the only thing I was disappointed about. I was like, "That's it." Nah, let me go back to the email. Let me go back to the email. Give me another one.
There must have been another link.
No, but that's
but it's so hard to you know, to make sure that your pacing is good. And it's like, that's not really something that you can measure because people read at different speeds. And then when the artwork is also introduced, you know, it's hard. It's hard. So I'm really happy to hear that the pacing on that was good, because that was something that I was paying really close attention to. But
do you want to stay independent, or if because the thing is, you know, we talked about this on our first episode together. So we talked about how, you know, mangakas really don't get no, you know, get the shitty end of the stick. So when I know for a fact, when you do get approached by publishers, right, are you going to feel comfortable with doing business with them, knowing that a big portion of your of the money is going to go to them?
Yeah. So I've already been informally approached.
Of course. Like, come on, it's Gigi. Like, please.
And
I already knew that.
I let me choose my words very carefully, but I've been informally approached, and I'll just leave it at that. As far as career wise, I think my focus right now is I do want to gain exposure. I made a tweet because I was we're almost here. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. I made a tweet and I said that I'm trying to be like one of the most celebrated and successful international mangaka in the horror genre. And I mean that. And that takes exposure. But that successful is in there. I'm thinking about that. And because I've been doing this by myself, and because I'm older doing this by myself, like I'm not 19, I'm not 20, I'm a grown ass woman. I have to consider the business stuff. I have a family, you know, I have people that I have to check in with and make sure that I'm contributing. So for that reason alone, I am open to having a balanced sort of setup where, depending on the company, and there is a publishing company that I am looking at and that I would like to work with, and I am in informal conversation and just in the parameters of this company that I would love to pitch this story to. Is that going to be all of my stories? Most likely not. Because I do want a certain level of control.
So if that's the case, what type of contract you're looking for? What would be a realistic contract for you to sign on the dotted line? What would have to be presented to you for you to be like, okay, I'm down?
I need the final say. I need the final say. I need to be whatever executive rooms have the final say. Where that's given, I need to be in those rooms. And I need, and it's not disrespect, but it's like, let me do my job and then y'all do y'all job. But like, let me do, this is part of that job. That final say of like, this character wouldn't do this. This wouldn't work this way. This breakdown wouldn't happen that way. Let me do that. And I feel like right now, not just with manga, but in entertainment as a whole, companies are so risk averse that they're not willing to do anything new. Why do you think we keep getting all these fucking remakes, y'all? Why do we keep getting all these, the same games is being regurgitated, the same shows, the same movies, all of this is being regurgitated because people want to make mad money, but they don't want to take risk. I would like to do both, to be honest. But, you know, I can't do both and work with a company. So I think the only way, if a company approached me, not if I approached a company, because I said there is a company that I have in mind. If a company approached me, that contract would have to be on point. The payment would have to be on point. I don't want to hear nothing about no, you know, my late fees. There's late fees there. I need to be paid on time. I need to be taken care of Don't try to screw me over. Don't try to go above me. If I'm the creator, treat me like a creator.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
would that also include if when this gets picked up into either an anime or a series, like one of those horror series, like those live action horror series, would that include you being in those rooms as well in the contract? Or are you willing for the publishing to just be like, all right, as long as the check is good, they can have it? Are you willing?
It's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard because I do a lot of studying. A lot of studying of like different, not just Japanese manga artists, but like American comic artists who, you know, their stuff has been picked up, and, you know, there are talks, and there's this one American comic artist named Dave Kellett who his wife is actually in the entertainment industry, and she's worked with Netflix here and there. They're in California. You know, she works in Hollywood. She's a producer, and he sees these things happening. He sees these things getting picked up, and he's like, I'm not doing that. Because the moment that stuff, when like the publishing companies, I feel like I could get around. You know what I'm saying? I might could be able to work something out. But when we're talking about Hollywood, I don't know. That's a lot more money being put out there. So I don't know. It's to the point of what this artist said, is that once these big companies have your stuff, it's no longer your stuff. Yeah, it is now completely out in the ether, right? And I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't know how I feel about that. I think the honest but like inconvenient truth of this is that if I were to do that, and if I was just looking for a bag, I would have to give them something that is not very close to me, and is not something that I am super duper attached to. I think that is. Oh,
that's why
it is. It is. I feel like that happens though. Yeah. I feel like that happens. So every artist has like in their mind their magnum opus, right? The thing that like is gonna push them to the top, like the full trajectory. Resenter is not that for me. I will be honest about that. I love Resenter a lot, but even with all the love I poured into this story, that's still not for me. That's not it.
So that means there's something else.
That means there is.
I'm still waiting for the
there
email.
Is something else.
Like, no, still waiting. Whoa, because I like this. I like Resenter. So
I'll put something on real quick.
There is another story. I've been working on this story since I was 15. Thus, it's not that good right now. I have to spruce it up. It's really just nostalgia stake, but I think that it could be incredible. And that is a story that should have. A lot of
creatives don't like their old work. You know what I'm saying?
But like this is like I love this story, but it's not good right now because I was 15 when I wrote it. Okay. It's not mature. It's not mature. I have to polish it. I got to refine it. And once that has happened, because I haven't did that yet. Because again, with artists, with creatives, whenever we get into our like, ooh, this is my magnum opus and the world is going to bow down to this story. Once we start getting into that headspace, we're stuck. It keeps us stagnant. We can't improve because it's so good as it is in our mind, and it's shit. Honestly, it's truly it's not good. So I decided I wasn't going to keep in that headspace. I'm gonna work away on something else, and that was Resenter. And it just so happened that at the same time, all of those personal feelings I was telling you about with resentment and revenge and all of that stuff, this was all culminating at the same time. So I was like, all right, cool, this works. I'm locked in on this story enough to like toil away at this, and then this other story, I will focus on that when I'm done. Not necessarily done with this, because there's other stories outside of that big story that I want to tell, but I will chip away at that big story little by little by little by little by little.
Okay, got you. So if it's like, okay, so that's kind of like how One Punch Man and Mob Psycho, because One Punch Man is pretty much his side project. He never thought it was going to blow up, but Mob Psycho, that's his baby. That's
the baby.
Yeah, that's
it's what, that.
Okay, got you.
It's that. So this other story, it's called Of Gods and of Monsters. That is my mob. That's my mob cycle. Resenter is my One Punch Man. But I'm planning to have a lot of different One Punch Mans.
I think you had it right. One Punch Man.
One Punch Men.
Yeah.
Men.
Punch Man.
But I'm trying to have a bunch of those. But you know, as far as like the story, how long the stories are, I'm looking at Junji Ito's career a lot, but I'm also looking at one of my other influences, Naoki Urasawa, who does a lot of long series, whereas Junji Ito's does a lot of short horror one-shots. So ideally, I'd like to get into a place where I can balance those. I can work on some short one-shots in between a longer series. And the longer series, depending on how I feel about it, perhaps I can send it into a publisher, and that works out that way. But if it doesn't, I'm going to work like hell to try to get people reading and get people knowing that I'm out here, I'm doing this. I've been doing this for a minute. I've been drawing for an incredibly long time. I'm a lover of stories. I'm out here. Nobody else is doing like Black horror in this way. Not with manga, not with Black female-led protagonists. And that to me is really important. And that is what also grants me pause to like approach some of the bigger players with this, or like the bigger companies rather, and like the studios and stuff. I don't want it to lose that soul. I don't.
Okay, you saying you don't want it to lose that soul. Let me give you a quick example real quick. I want to get your opinion on this.
All right.
So Interview with the Vampire just been released. They just remade it, right? And they did it it's funny how they did it right after she died, a year later. Anne Rice. Now, if you guys don't know, Anne Rice was very, very involved with Interview with the Vampire, the original, with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. She had a lot of things to say.
I liked it.
I loved it. But she didn't like it until going further into the process of the movie, because she wanted the roles to be reversed from Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise dedicated his whole acting persona to make sure that he was able to impress her, which he did.
He ate that role, yo.
He ate the hell out of that role. Like
he did.
He made me pick up the series. The Vampire Chronicles is my favorite series. I read it I love it. But here's the thing though. They decided to just go off and do their own thing after she died. I think they waited till after she died to have the story told the way Hollywood wanted to be told, right? And I feel that it's not bad. It's not bad. It's actually pretty good. But I just wanted it more of what Anne Rice was trying to portray in the series, in the book. Now, here's the thing. Once they take your stuff and you dead, that's it, right?
That's it.
Basically.
That's pretty much it. There's no way you can redeem or try to fix it, because now what your baby is, they pretty much just took your baby, gave him a whole new font, whole new everything, and you're just like, okay, it is what it is. Now, I want to know your opinion on that. Like, how do you personally feel about that? Because at this point, when your stuff gets published, God forbid something happens to you, and there's studios out there that's been waiting to get their hands on it,
just clawing in, right? Like, ooh, she in the grave. Hold up, wait! They just threw the dirt over her. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yo, that's what I become the Ripper.
There's a department at these publishing companies that sole job is just to scour dead artists. Just like, oh, that person died. Let's see what they were working on.
That's
That's
I'm telling you right now, I'm becoming Jackie real quick. I'm becoming a Ripper real quick. I'm coming for you.
Right.
I'm coming for you. But doesn't that discourage you in a way, knowing that like once your product is put out there, like no one's gonna respect your product the way you do.
Of course.
Let's just be completely honest. Now, it doesn't matter what you write. It doesn't matter what contract you have. Once you're gone, you're gone. The content is left to the studio. The content is left to... Even look at George Lucas. George Lucas, when he sold Star Wars, he had a booklet of how to continue the series. And he gave
that shit out the window.
What?
And that man's still alive.
He's still alive. In the eye while they did it.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm just going to set this on fire in front of you.
Right, like Misery. Right.
Not to say that he wasn't doing. Not to say that what Disney's doing is not great. Mandalorian is awesome. It's just that there's really though, like really. Wow,
that's crazy, bro. You ain't got a straw.
No straw. That is.
My bad, guys. My bad.
But I'm more interested in what George Lucas. I will never get that story. You know what I'm saying? And I'm always interested in what the creator is putting out. Like, damn, what's next? So how does that make you feel as a creative, though? Knowing that this is potentially what's going to happen. Not to be a Debbie Downer. I'm sorry. But I'm just
no. These are important questions because, y'all got listeners who are younger. And a lot of younger people do get into manga and anime and want to do like manga and anime. And this is the real shit. Like, this is like, it's no longer like on some Naruto One Piece shit where it's like, ooh, I'm going to be the best. Okay. But this is the real world though, right now. It does leave you a little pessimistic, honestly. 'Cause it's like, right. It's like once you open up that door to allow these companies in and allow them access to your work and your like inner toilings and your stories, that really is it. And businesses do that stuff all the time. Like I told y'all, like because I'm older and because I'm doing this, I am really looking at the business aspect of a lot of stuff. And there's this podcast I listen to called Business Wars. And I don't remember which companies it was, but there was a situation. I think it was Haagen-Dazs versus Ben and Jerry's. But I digress. There's a situation where a company was being signed over, and these were the stipulations of that happening. And the company that bought this company started ignoring the stipulations, and a lawsuit happened. And it's like, could you sue the entity that has your stuff and has promised to approach your stuff in the way that you've stipulated? You could sue them. Right. But when we're talking about, for example, a Disney, is it worth to do that? You think you're going to survive that?
Nah, hell no.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where it does get a little, tricky. And it does feel a little pessimistic. So I think that once you open that door, you just have to make peace with the fact that whatever property that they have, that's what they're gonna run with, and that's it. And that's really it. And you got to make peace with that. I think that there are ways that you can protect some of your stuff after you pass. Like if your estate, your family has certain controls over that. But, then that becomes a question of like, well, is my family going to do what I've said is in the best interest of this work? Or are they also looking for a bag? And that shit's real too. That happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? Look at Aaliyah. Look at like what's happening in that situation. With
her uncle. Yeah. I think he has rights. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, it is pessimistic. It does feel like artists are always getting the short end of the stick. Artists and creators, writers, the people who these ideas stem from. It does feel like we are always getting the short end of the stick. But I think the best way to combat that is to try to be smart and be calculated in what it is that you're trying to do. I know that right now for me, not a lot of people know who I am. So I am willing to make that deal with the devil, so to speak, on a certain story, on a certain story that is not my magnum opus, that is not my baby, I am willing to sacrifice that, make that story the lamb, just so that I can ascend a little bit more.
And you know, you're gonna hurt a lot of people's feelings when you do that. A lot of your fans who read and then feel like, oh, this is a
But here's the thing. But here's the
way
thing.
I'm invested in this first chapter.
But here's the thing.
Me too.
Here's the thing though, right? So the only way that does not happen is if people support the creators and the stuff that they're into.
Ooh,
truly.
Bars.
And that has to come full circle. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I have supported you know, smaller businesses, like smaller artists, and like whenever I see, I mostly go to Artist Alley when I go to conventions because I'm buying from artists. If I see their stuff, right? If I see their stuff on Etsy, if I see their website, I'll follow them. I'll like a ton of artists, like art books, stuff that's not necessarily even like big name published stuff. I will support that because I want that to continue. I will be Patreon to artists that I like, who some of them are not safe for work artists, and they not safe for work artists are really having a hard time out here. Not only can their stuff not be shown, but even when it can be shown, they can't always be paid. A lot of people don't know that stuff. And it's like, y'all, we are really out here really giving labors of love. And this is why people do go to the bigger companies, because it's like a consistent, stable check, but you got to let us do whatever we want. But you get a consistent, stable check, and you get the exposure. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the same reach as a Disney, with the cost, exactly, and that's the point. That's the point. It does come with a cost, and it's like, well, I'm creating this thing. Nobody is supporting me on this thing. People are loving it and they're into it and they're reading it, but nobody is like monetarily helping me. Like, this is not a goodwill service. You know what I'm saying? I live in one of the most expensive cities in America. You know what I'm saying? I can't roll off of no goodwill. You know what I'm saying?
Don't take that.
They don't write checks in goodwill. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it don't work that way. It don't. So, you know, not to say that sharing and talking and you know, all of that stuff isn't important. I appreciate that immensely, as I'm sure other smaller creators and artists do. But, you know, there is that extra element of, if you really, really want this stuff, you have to put your money where your mouth is. There's no reason for Disney to be making all this money from these remakes, shit that's been rehashed, and then for people to turn around and complain, for people to turn around and complain that there's nothing new. There's new stuff. Y'all are just not paying for it.
Yep.
Y'all just don't care. Y'all have been spoiled. Y'all don't care to see this new stuff because this is easier. I've already locked in on this, you know, on this front. And that's not me trying to attack Disney. Y'all, I'm not trying to attack Disney.
No, I feel you.
I'm just saying, you know, I want Disney to come through and be like, hold up, put her on the naughty list. Like, no, don't put me on no naughty list, please. Don't come for me. I'm just saying. No,
I feel you, because the same amount of money and intention that you put into buying these subscriptions to these streaming services and what Disney has to offer, you can still do that and put that energy and that money in your favorite creatives that
and you
have
know what?
Great stories.
You know what? And it's not like people are overjoyed about what's coming out. And this is not to just solely attack Disney, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not just Disney that's doing it. They're just the bigger player that's doing it. There are plenty of movies and shows and even games. Y'all, every survival horror game that has been like kind of talked about within the last few days, all remakes. All remakes.
Of course.
All remakes. All white male protagonists.
Of course.
But also all stuff that we've seen before. It might be done differently. And me personally, I'm excited for a few of these remakes myself as a fan. But it is stuff that we've seen before.
The same stuff, but like different fonts. So it's like
different fonts.
Yeah, right. We get it. But you know what? Before we get into this, I do want to ask you about a little sneak peek of what's going to happen in chapter 2. But okay. Before we get into that, I want, since we're being so informative about what we should do as supporters of creatives when we want, consumers of content. My main question to you is, what can you do as a creative to protect yourself? One example I have for you. I forgot Shorty's name, and it's really bad. There's a woman who actually created The Matrix and Terminator. She's a
I
black.
heard about this.
Yeah, she's
I
a black.
about this.
For in the 80s, I'll have her name in the bottom if I find it. In the 80s, this beautiful woman. She went from studio to studio pitching her story. In an event of pitching her story, Terminator came out. And after that, she went to court, a long uphold battle, and then Matrix came out. Now, Terminator and Matrix were supposed to be a jumbled story. It was supposed to be a series. She had a book, and she thought, and the main protagonist was black, right? And it was, I still can't find this book to this day. This woman fought more than a decade to get some form of compensation for them selling her rights to. This is a franchise that's like over millions and millions of dollars.
Both of them,
not once but twice. They took her
movies, comics.
She had to prove her butt off her story, and finally they was like, "Damn, we can't deny it. This is this woman's story," and they took it from her. Now, as a creative, what can you do to make sure a situation like that does not happen to you?
That's a good question. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if there's any way to foolproof that. There are certain legal steps that you can take, but like people can still get around that kind of stuff. There's still like copywriting stuff that you can do. People can still kind of get around that, to be honest. So like there's no 100% foolproof way. Not that I know of, but I'm also not a lawyer. This is just based on what I've studied.
But what are you doing to make sure that your content is... Because let's be honest, like you sent us the first chapter, right? This is not released yet. I could just take this shit and say it's mine and post it all over the internet and put it in my Patreon and be like, this is what I created. Now,
wow,
that's crazy.
That's a crazy thing to say. No, I get it.
There's people on TikTok, on Instagram that are coming out saying, yo, this person just stole my whole story. So if you're doing that, what is it that you can do to protect yourself to make sure that people don't steal your content? I would never do that. But I'm just saying, like,
I would hope not, because I'm gonna have to get the Addy, bro. No.
I'm just like,
I have to roll up, hold up, wait.
No, I mean, there's certain things that you have to. First of all, let's just say this: I'm very appreciative that you trust us with the story. I'm very appreciative that you took the time out to talk about your experience as a mangaka, sharing this beautiful story with us, and able to use this platform to uplift other creatives such as yourself. But we have to understand that we are targets, you know, especially if you're a black creative, because your voices are never heard. So I just want to make sure when we have young creatives on here, yes, you can go ahead and create, you can go ahead and make the beautiful story and beautiful artwork, but at the same time too, there has to be balance. You got to protect yourself, because the last thing you want is to put in your heart and your soul and your passion into your baby and it's just to be taken away and whitewashed. That's another thing too. So, so like, what is it that you can do as an artist to make sure, like, I know for one, as long as you have the original work in your possession, I know for a fact, if anything, worst case scenario, you have proof, date, timestamps. That's another way of protecting yourself. Another thing too, ladies and gentlemen, copyright. I know this is a way to copyright all your shit, every chapter, every square, every bubble. Copyright all your stuff. Copyright all your stuff. And another thing, make sure that you make it extremely hard for other thieves to get your stuff. Like, I feel like you work hard for it. People want to see this, pay. And it's not like we're asking for like thousands of dollars for you to read this first chapter. Remember, every single dime you contribute helps the creative protect their content and also fuels them to write more. Because right now, I don't know how we could talk about this without chapter 2. Because I'm like, where's chapter 2? But yeah, it's very important. Ladies and gentlemen, you can have somebody smile in your face and say, yeah, this is great. I know somebody that could take this to a whole nother level. I know a publishing company, just give it to me. Understand, protect yourself, protect your content. Because if it's not you that's protecting it, you're just fine
out there. And that's another thing. That was another thing too, where you said like people paying is helping the creator protect their stuff. That's another thing. Copyright is expensive, y'all. I'm gonna be honest with you. That is one way that they get people. The story that you were telling me about, that you were saying about this lady, I've heard that story before. I've heard a bunch of different things where it's like, is that her story? Is that not her story? I don't know. So I'm curious to read what you gonna throw out there, because I've heard both ends of the spectrum on that lady. So I don't fully know. I wouldn't be surprised if they did steal her stuff though. Like that stuff happens all the time.
No, they settled it. She got money for it. She did
get money. Okay, send me that. Send me that.
Because rights to it. She's not like, it's not her stuff.
But the fact that they paid her means, you know what I'm saying?
It means little to nothing to me. She needs to get a ripper.
The action of them paying her means they did something. They probably did something shady. And those stories are very close. Like thematically, they're very close. Yeah. But one way of how they could have even done that to her is they could have, squeezed her out, because it's expensive. Legalities are expensive. And that's another reason why really, truly, 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 every dime helps creators to protect their stuff and to keep them incentivized to keep working. Because, it is expensive. Copyrights is expensive. It is. Me personally, I feel like if you're not going to copyright your stuff, don't release it. I know it's hard to say, but you don't want to be like her. She's been fighting for a long, long, long time, in order for them to settle this outside of court. And they've been so hush about it because none of these studios want to admit the fact that they really stole her stuff, right? They don't want it. So, like, it's a big risk that you're taking out there, but that's not a risk that's not worth investing into. And this is why we need more people going into the Patreons and investing and making sure that your favorite creative is getting the coin that they need to produce the content that they can for you to enjoy great stories and for them to be protected at the same time, for them to come out and put in more stories. Like I'm flabbergasted that this ain't your main baby. I'm flabbergasted that because this was fire. I thought this was like the one and only, but when you told it, I want to see the big one. I want a big library of stories. Like I said, my main inspirations for how I want my career to go is Junji Ito and Naoki Urasawa. I want a library of stuff. I want numerous stories of mine that like people can run and go to, and anthologies and stuff that people can pick up. And
that'd be a blessing, yo. I'm not even gonna hold you. I would love to see that. I would.
I'm ready to create it. But I can't. I'll be honest. I know we keep going back to this, but I can't keep taking these hiatuses. My client hiatus is over in the upcoming months because your girl missed out on a lot of coins trying to work on this story, and if that's not going to be the case, I need some support. I'm on Twitch, trying to get them little Twitch subs and stuff, and I appreciate it because like it's a lot. It's a lot of hats that I got to juggle to try to make it work. And it's still not quite there.
I mean, it's fine. So, you know why?
Ladies
and gentlemen, we need all of you to come on to Gigi's Patreon. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be shy. Come to Patreon. The chapter is going to be out by this point, by the time this episode is out. Read this chapter. You will
share.
Be pissed. I'm not going to hold you. You're going to be pissed because they come in hard, and then what happens is you're like, what? That's it. But here's the thing. If you want to motivate Gigi for her to come out with chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you got to go on the Patreon. You got
and a book. And a book and all that, and you know what I'm like, some merch. I ain't got no merch for Jackie yet, other than a sticker, because I'm trying to focus on the priorities, which is the story.
You just got
a lot of people.
Rhea, right?
A lot. Ain't no hat derbs.
No, for Rhea.
I mean, maybe in the future, but that's not the priority right now. A lot of people have the merch and stuff out. A lot of people got the merch and stuff out for their stuff. I'm focusing on the stories first. The only merch, like I said, is a sticker of Jackie. That's it, because that was the first design. And Jackie, her design was. You might have it already. You don't got it already?
No.
Oh,
that's all right. That's all right. Because I'll see
you'll get it.
Just give me 2.
Exactly. That's the only merch of her that I got out though, because she was originally just gonna be a design, like an illustration, like a design for a sticker or whatever. And then I was like, no, there's something going on here with this design. So that's when Resenter started. So I don't have like any merch because I'm focusing on the story first.
Because I need chapter 2.
Of course.
And then we can talk about
Wait, so how many chapters are you thinking for this, for Resenter?
I was teetering between like 50 to 64 chapters. So this was going to be like a legit like manga situation. And each volume would have like 5 to 6 chapters.
Okay.
So I was thinking 6 to 8 volumes. I don't think I'm going to do the full 8. That workload might be a bit much.
Okay.
So I am thinking closer to maybe 5 or 6 volumes.
Okay.
5 or 6 volumes. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I wouldn't be 25 chapters, would it be? Maybe, no. Is that 25 chapters? Maybe. That might be 25 chapters. That might be a little short.
I just have one.
I just have one request. 50, 5.
Don't kill Jackie. I know she your baby.
Jackie's already dead.
Right? That's page 1.
Right? Literally.
I mean, you know. Don't like, I don't want to see no sunset and then it's like the end for her.
That's how it is.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. But I mean, it's
Death Note.
Nah, but who am I to say this? This is your story. But I appreciate you being on the show and let us know. Matter of fact, hold on. When is chapter 2 coming out? Let's be honest.
Right.
When chapter 2 coming out?
So the way that it's going to drop monthly. I'm already working on chapter 2. But it's going to be coming out monthly last Sunday of the month is when it'll be dropping.
And where can everyone read it? It's on Patreon? Everyone can read it? Or
it is. So early access is on Patreon. And that's like about a month in advance. Because of all the PR stuff I've been doing so far, I don't have chapter 2 up on Patreon just yet. I kind of drop them on Patreon as I finish it. So it's not all in one big lump sum. But all the early access stuff is on Patreon. And there's like exclusive concept art and illustrations and stuff that are on Patreon as well. But otherwise, it'll be linked out from my website to the actual pages where you can read it at. So just go to my website. Just go to my website. There's like a manga tab. You'll see Resenter, the cover up there, and then you can click there and then read. Okay.
All right. That's cool. But when you do, I'm familiar. When you are on the Patreon, you do get notifications. When a person
you do get notification.
Okay. So that's cool. So ladies and gentlemen, long story short, you got to be on her Patreon to get the notifications that let you know it's monthly. But, when you see that little pop up, that little, hey, guess what Gigi got out? Hey, y'all. Right. If you in New York and you on that train ride and you download it real quick so you could just get to work and you like, oh, this is nice, but don't be like me. Do not read too much to the point that you miss your stop. That's happened a bunch of times. Don't do that. And the way this story is going, this is one of those mangas that will have you miss your stop. You might be at the last stop. I'm not gonna hold you. You might. But Let everybody know where they can find you too, and also be able to purchase your merch. Cause I love your posters and shirts.
Thank you. So my website is www.gigimurakami.art. We don't do .com over here. We do .art. So GIGIMURAKAM what? I.art. And all of my socials are GIGI Murakami. On Instagram, there is another GIGI Murakami. So on Instagram is GIGI_Murakami. And you can find me everywhere on there. And then my shop, my online store is called Himawari 91, like Naruto's daughter, Himawari. Yeah. Himawari. Himawari 91 .store, because we're fancy, .store. But you could also go to my website, and there's a link to my store that's there too.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Oh, and another thing, I'm just gonna put you out there, like really expose you. If you have any of her posters and you go to Anime NYC, this is a perfect time for Gigi to autograph your poster. Definitely,
that is true. I will be there.
She's gonna be at Anime NYC. When we get further to the day, we could talk about what she has in store for everybody and her
for family. Anime NYC. Yes.
So
you might be involved, Patty. I don't know.
Maybe.
Where's the email at, bro? Where's the memo at?
Listen, I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you.
Actually, we waiting on Anime NYC. To be honest. I did have a little treat for you though. Y'all got a minute left?
Yeah, let's go. What happened?
Okay, so there's actually the trailer.
What, ladies and gentlemen? We have Gigi was great enough to bring us the trailer of her brand new manga, Resenter. So let's play it right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you just finished watching the trailer for the Resenter. It is amazing. It is fabulous. And for all of you that are watching this on YouTube and Spotify, listen, you need to watch this on YouTube. This is amazing. I'm gonna have the link in the bottom too, so you guys can
headphones. Put the headphones in.
On, put the volume on high, because it really gets you in.
Yeah, that was a bit more terrifying than when I just read it by myself.
This was fire. This was fire. And for all of y'all that's watching, you're welcome. Because you could never say Patty didn't put you on. You could never say Patty didn't put you on. But don't forget, follow Gigi on all her socials and all her platforms. Don't forget to go into the Patreon. Don't forget to make sure your notifications are on and make sure that you can be on the lookout for chapter 2. And you'll see her at Anime NYC, so you could chop it up with her, talk business, you know, anything that's involving the coin, you know what I mean? And and thank you so much for being on the set, for being on the show today. Thank you for bringing us the trailer that I was just like at awe about. This is a dope. Kevin, hey Kevin, hey Kev, thank you, Kevin.
Fermini, Mr. Fermini. Evan put his foot in that, yo. Put his whole foot in that trailer. I appreciate him so much, yo.
All ankle.
Right?
But yes, thank you so much for pulling up. I appreciate you. Don't forget to follow her, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have any questions, feel free. If you can't get in contact with Gigi, you can get in contact with us, blackramenpodcast.com. Ask Black Ramen, and we'll make sure that you have everything that you need to get in contact with her. And if you're an artist, you have any questions, feel free to hit us up too. With that being said, peace.
Peace.
That trailer was fire though. I ain't gonna hold you. That trailer was fire.
I'm excited.
What?
You're excited. I'm excited.
I feel like that. I need chapter 2. That's what I'm talking about.
I need all the chapters.
For real.